Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Athletic Studio podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Kate Oman.
I'm Gordon Chommanivong.
And on today's episode, we'll be talking about rethinking training and energy expenditure for fat loss.
Yeah.
So this first portion of this episode will tie in with our last, so make sure you definitely go back and listen to our last episode. But we're going to talk about basically more isn't more when we go into a fat loss phase. We're going to start with that. So when people want to go into a bit of a deficit, the first thing they do is probably thinking, oh, I've got to eat less and move more. Now that, yes, is the correct principle of being in a calorie deficit, but it's more so the actions that people take. So often we see scheduling a few runs a week, scheduling maybe a few F45 classes, maybe doing a bit of a fast or whatever. So it just seems sometimes it's just a little bit more extreme than it has to be.
Yeah.
So it's more so how we can let you guys in on a few things that we do to create the best results possible for ourselves and our clients.
Yeah, people will get into a very rigid plan. They'll figure out, okay, I'm going to start with this many calories. I'm going to do 4 or 5 training sessions per week, and their plan is very rigid. Whereas where people get the best results and where they learn a lot about their body and where they can actually achieve better results by doing less is that their plan is more, it's a combination of, yes, having some structure, but they're also intuitive as well and making like adjustments along the way.
It ties into our past episode as I spoke to, but starting gradually and building is usually the best way to go about it, because if you don't need to be doing 5 HIIT sessions a week, I would definitely not recommend it. We talk about the importance of low intensity exercise as well. Like we advocate highly for this at the studio in terms of like our clients getting their steps in. I think it's a super underrated form of exercise. Not only is it great for like your mental health and getting out in nature, but it is an effective way. First of all, you can multitask and you can watch TikTok if you want and walk. You can do emails and walk. You can take calls and walk. But it's also a really low intensity form of exercise that basically everyone can do, and they can still perform really well within their, say, strength sessions or their other sessions surrounding this because it's so light on the body.
Yeah, 100%. It's more about recovery. And if you're a executive business owner, you're busy, I guarantee you, if you're doing resistance training and you're throwing in some higher intensity cardio and long runs, you're not recovering. And that's why you're getting burnt out and then tired.
Yeah.
So the lower intensity types of cardio, I just find they're just so much better for clients. And even me, myself, when I've tested doing 2 to 3 running sessions per week on top of running sessions, I feel way more rested now.
Yeah.
And just focusing on steps.
Yeah. And if you look at energy expenditure, if you've ever been interested, like looking at your watch, going for a run, say in comparison to a walk, you can almost burn a lot more energy going for the walk you'll be actually really surprised how much energy you can burn. Things as well as I love to go in the Stairmaster, like a low intensity as well, nothing high unless I'm actually trying to do a cardio session, but something I can maintain a conversation through, like that kind of intensity, keeping my heart rate. You might hear of like zone training, but zone 2 or zone 3. So we're not in that red spot where we're huffing and puffing. And yeah, it's a little bit more gentle on the body. And as you spoke to, better for recovery.
And like the coaches here, we went to a hypertrophy course the other week, and one of the teachers there, they were saying you can actually build lean muscle tissue just by going for walking up a hill or riding a bike, just because there's more tension with gravity, because let's say you're walking up a hill or you're pedaling that there's still resistance there. So you can actually still get really good results if you're coming from doing nothing.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. I think from a personal experience, I'll touch on when I was training more of a CrossFit style, and I was doing this probably 5 to 6 days a week. Personally, like I know everyone's experience is different, but I probably went into that training looking quite lean and strong, and then I came out of that training looking really inflamed and just like my gut wasn't right. And so I think from my personal experience, I was overdoing it in that sense of training. Like I absolutely loved it, but it probably at that point in time wasn't the best for my body because I was doing it 5, 6 days a week. Optimally, I probably would have been doing it twice, maybe once a week if I look back. But yeah, it's interesting how there definitely is a physiological response to high intensity training and the stress it has on the body, and especially for our clients in high important jobs like business owners, executives that we speak to. You don't need to be adding extra stress to your life.
That's right. Like the people who are doing, let's say even the hybrid training which is basically, it's huge now on Instagram and TikTok. Do weight training, go for the runs. I don't know why they call it hybrid training. It's literally like it's CrossFit. The CrossFit should sue them.
Hybrid training, it's the next big
Yeah,
thing. It's like it's the
but you'll
catchy.
find that they're all fitness influencers
Yeah.
and they're all coaches and they've all got all the time in the world to rest and recover.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't see, someone who's running a business, see them if they're on their feet all day, like being a tradie, doing that type of
Yeah,
those
it's
types of work.
unrealistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's why it's so important what I've learned is hypertrophy and strength training and walking is like such a good combination. Even like chucking in a Pilates class a week just for some stretching and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But low intensity things, I think that's probably why I know Pilates got and still is quite hyped because they have noticed that like a lot of these young women have gone from like really intense strength training to low impact Pilates and they're finding better results. It's because their body's not under so much stress. They're not holding on to inflammation. So they're like, oh my God, Pilates is the best thing ever. It's transformed my body. It's yes, to a degree, but it's just that intensity switch that you've changed. Like your eating's you won't probably have to eat as much because you're not burning through so much energy. I know when I was, as I said, that personal account where I was training 5 to 6 days a week, CrossFit style, I would eat like a horse. Like I eat a lot anyway, but it was actually insane. I was hungry every second of the day. So obviously things weren't moving as they should. You should have like hunger and fuel cues. I just felt like they were all out the window. My nervous system was all a bit like jumbled. I think that's something definitely to consider when you're looking at fat loss from this perspective of you don't have to do everything. Like the least amount of work possible is the best.
Yeah, you want to just think of applying as much resistance training and stress to your body that you can recover from.
Yeah.
So you should be able to go into your next week of training and be able to perform better.
Yeah.
If you're not perform better, then that means something going wrong with your recovery, or you're training too hard, like too much.
Yeah. And of course, we want to actually approach our sessions with intensity as well. And if we find we're not recovering, then of course, there's always point in moving your body. But if you're really trying to like provide a stimulus to your body and create growth, then you're like, awesome. Oh, yeah. And you can't provide that because you don't have the energy to do it. You probably need to reflect on your training and be like, all right, either my split's not good or I need to push or pull on something.
Yeah, it impacts the muscle recruitment. If you're under recovered, you're not going to be able to recruit as many muscle fibers, get that mind to muscle connection. Things just feel off.
Yeah, absolutely. For scheduling these high intensity workouts or whatever throughout the week, like I know I love to get up a sweat, but now, as I said, from learning, I think it's important to separate these. So for instance, if you were someone who wants to engage in high intensity activity, I recommend at least having a rest day in between or separating them from the start to the end of the week. So for instance, it might be like a Monday, Thursday, or like a Tuesday, Friday, that kind of thing, just to allow for ample recovery in between because doing back-to-back high intensity sessions will just cook your nervous system.
Yeah. So you're talking about high intensity weight training or what high intensity cardio?
More so high intensity cardio. Yeah. I'm thinking like F45, like 1R, those kind of things that like just.
So classes as well, like HIIT training. Yeah. HIIT training, like you'd choose weight training first of all anyway. But if you were to choose to put in like higher intensity training, yeah, definitely. I'd always structure in at least 2 complete rest days throughout the week.
Yeah, agreed.
And then preferably you're looking at doing like a split. One day will be upper body. And if one day is upper body, I'm not going to be training upper body like the very next day.
Yeah.
So it would at least have to be lower body.
That's true. Yeah. That's why where the bro split comes from, like the OG bodybuilding, so they could hit all the muscle groups and get like all of the volume that they need. Yeah. That's why you go Mondays legs, Tuesdays upper. It's not as intensely, but emulating that.
Yeah, definitely. And you can obviously structure your workouts a way that, it's not completely, bodybuilding style, but, has those elements of HIIT as well. And then like with higher intensity cardio, because we're tracking for results, then we're giving them a little bit of homework and then starting small. So what I like to do is, okay, if you're training 3 to 4 days per week on a resistance training program, you're going to start with 1 day of a 20-minute jog run, like outside. Yeah. And then if the results are going in the right direction, okay, cool. Then we can maybe add in an extra cardio session. Maybe I would like to have it still on the same day of their resistance training, just because I would prefer clients to have 2 full rest days.
Yeah.
And then it's the same thing. Then if they want to do it if they want to do the cardio on one of their complete rest days, then it's just assessing the recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think by all means, like cardio or high intensity is not the devil. It's more so the frequency and your structure of it. Go for it. Go do it 3-4 days a week, but make sure you do have the time to rest and recover, and make sure if you are resistance training around that, that
Yeah.
you're doing that appropriately too.
And a lot of it comes down to specificity as well, thinking about like, what are you trying to achieve? What's the number one goal? Run clubs, they're very popular, and obviously you have all these classes. But if your goal is just, hey, my goal is to lose weight, look really good, and get fitter and stronger, like a run club, yeah, you're going to improve your running and improve your cardiovascular fitness, but you're just going to get to your goal slower.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, be specific. If you want to do a rowing club because it makes you feel good, do that, but definitely will not specifically help build muscles.
They're hard decisions to make as well.
Yeah, I think there definitely is an element of training. Like you've got to enjoy it too as well. Whatever you can stay consistent at, you'll create.
Yeah, but most people enjoy getting results.
That's true.
You know?
Results can become
Whatever
addictive.
yeah.
Exactly right. So no, that's very true.
So, Kate, if someone is listening to this episode and it's all about you obviously rethinking their training and energy expenditure for fat loss, and they're thinking, oh crap, maybe I am eating too little and doing too much. What action steps can they take to start moving in the right direction to essentially start feeling better and seeing better results in the next 7 to 14 days?
Yeah, so it might be a hard one for you, but I would say just start with reducing your intensity and your load. Like I would start to maybe remove a session and slowly to increase food. I'd probably replace a session with maybe a long walk, as we spoke to reduce the stress like on the nervous system, and then see how you go from there. I always recommend eating as much food as you can for the most amount of results, but we might have to gradually increase this to ensure that your metabolism has time to adapt. So yeah, all in all, slowly increase food. That might be adding maybe 100, 150 calories a day, and then taking away that session, adding some steps. And then I would hopefully take another session away and then potentially swap it with maybe some resistance training. So just restructuring and rethinking about your training week, making sure that you have definitely a rest day or two in there. Two, as we spoke to, is ideal. And then just small steps at a time. I wouldn't go cold turkey and just say eat more and stop everything, because that's not sustainable and that's not fun. You're not going to get results from that either. You're probably going to feel worse off. So definitely just really small steps at a time.
But someone like also, if you, the common response, if I was your client, and but Kate, so you're telling me to eat more and train less.
I know.
Like, will I get to my goal? How would you reassure someone?
Well, I would tell them that like your body isn't responding like to this approach that you're going through.
Yeah.
It's probably under a lot of stress. It's a very individual case. It's hard to give like a specific answer to a broad question, but it's a fair question to be like, shouldn't I be eating less then because I'm training less? Or not necessarily. You actually need to give your metabolism a bit of time to like actually be working efficiently. And that sometimes means building calories back up to like at least a maintenance, maybe even a slight surplus phase. And from then we can rebuild the metabolism and not be in such a fight or flight mode. Often that when we are in this mode, we're holding on to all that inflammation. We're not looking great. So by increasing food and decreasing your training, I'd say trust the process. Definitely, as we always say, put yourself in the hands of a professional. It might be against everything you think is right, but yeah, I would say definitely to this person that you need to trust the process.
Because it's also, if you were doing what you're doing and if it was working, then it would be working, but obviously it's not working, so you've got to do something different.
Exactly. And the option is you cannot keep just slashing calories, increasing activity. Like you're going to be so burnt out. It's almost like, how do we get your body to an optimal state first and then we rework?
Yeah, because when someone's like recovering, they're going to be gaining more lean muscle. Yeah. They're going to have their energy levels back so they can actually start to move more.
Yeah, exactly.
As well, and put more quality into their sessions.
Yeah, that's true.
So you can tell when someone presents themselves and they present like their nutrition, their current training plan, if they're overworked or overstressed. Yeah,
exactly
it's
right.
more focusing on quality.
Yeah. More isn't always more.
It's the same with your workouts too. So if you think that you're doing deadlifting, squatting, a lot of compound movements, a lot of CrossFit workouts, you can actually get better results and less injuries and recover better by working with machines as well. So it really just depends. But then like what you were saying, you also got to enjoy it too.
Yeah. It's find the balance. As we say through these episodes, it's all about trial and error. What will work for one person might not necessarily work for yourself. But yeah, always I think work with a professional and someone that you can put your trust in and they'll guide you.
More think quality over quantity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else, Kate?
No, I think we honestly touched over everything on this episode that I wanted to get to. What about
Yeah.
yourself? Any pointers to finish?
No, I actually don't.
Okay.
No,
Before we wrap
nothing,
up.
Kate. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Athletic Studio podcast. We'll catch you in our next one.
Thanks, guys.
If you found this episode useful, it would mean the world to us if you shared, rated, and liked this podcast. It's how we keep it alive.
Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Athletic Studio. We would love to connect with you and see how your fitness and health improves with this newfound knowledge. Until next time.